Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
We pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee on February 24th, 2026 at 5:34 p.m. First item of business is, oh, my agenda hasn't come up yet. Approval of the minutes. I will take a motion.
I move we approve the minutes as drafted in the packet.
Motion to approve by Alder Jetzer. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next is public appearances for non-agenda items. We don't have anyone in chambers or online for non-agenda items, so we'll move on to item 4, Finance Director Report. Misty?
I'd like to start with the couple of attachments that were included in the packet. First is the December 2025 Treasurer's Report. I'll remind you this is just kind of the front stages because we're still working really hard to close out 2025 and didn't want to provide information that looks like it's for a full year when it wasn't complete. So these are just the first couple statements. Big thing, of course, would be property tax collection. You can see in our tax account we had almost $40 million as of the end of the year. And so I'll pause for questions on that one.
You can go on.
Okay. Also included in the packet is the arbitrage report for the 2020A debt issuance. We are coming up on the 60 days after the 5-year anniversary of when that was issued. So we worked with Ellers, their arbitrage expert, to make sure that we met the requirements, which we did. We did earn a little bit more on the money before it got spent than what we were allowed to earn. However, because we met the spend down requirements, there was an exception available. So there's no rebate owed to the federal government. And as long as we retain that bona fide debt service fund, we don't expect there to be any future payment either. So I'll pause for that one.
Yeah, so this was $19.3 million in 2020. Was that for primarily North Fish Hatchery Road and Lacey Road? Or what were those major projects there?
I'd have to go back and look, but it was for roads, which would include Fish Hatchery Road and then the fire squad. And then we also refunded some of the library bonds because we got a better interest rate.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then there's reference to 1.4% yield. Mm-hmm. That's pretty low. What's going on there?
Yeah, we got really great rates when we issued this. It was December of 2020. As you can imagine, there was a lot of uncertainty happening at that point, and we hit the market just right with our AAA rating and got exceptional rates on our debt.
Anything else?
Other than that, finance, of course, is getting ready for auditors. They're here in 2 weeks, so lots to do before then. And then just wanted to share with you, too, we had our first attempted fraud on the city's check payments. So we had a $17,000 check to the Postal Service that got intercepted and washed and tried to be deposited and stolen. Because we have payee positive pay in place, the city was not out that money. Our fraud prevention methods caught that so that the city didn't have to pick that up. So it's, disheartening that our check was stolen and it was tried to be used that way. It is comforting to know that we have those processes in place to make sure that at the end of the day, the city taxpayers aren't out that money. So first one since we've implemented those measures.
That is very disturbing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But thanks for the update. Seeing no questions, we can move on to item 5, a review of bills. First is review P-card transactions for the cycle ending January 6, 2026, totaling $183,938.13. Comments or questions? Bill?
I noticed Pelletary is charging a fuel surcharge. Gas prices are pretty low these days. What is the base rate that they're expecting fuel to cost?
Hey, Tim, do you happen to know that? Otherwise, we can get back to you at the next meeting.
Okay. I'm just wondering, at what point would we see that number, trend towards zero?
Off the top of my head, I don't have that, but it's based on the contract that we signed with them. So the RFP we put out had listed all those parameters, and that cost is listed in there. So I can pull that information in and provide a response back.
Okay, so that doesn't fluctuate from month to month or anything. That was baked into the several year
Yeah,
contract.
it was baked into the RFP and the contract that we signed with them annually.
Okay.
All
right, seeing nothing else, we can move on to item 5B, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 130059 to 130233 from February 1 to 15, 2026, totaling $2,716,604.01. Questions? Bill?
I noticed a lot of tax refunds again, but there was one that caught my eye because it was the same person but got 2 checks cut to them. They have 2 properties and overpaid on both? Is that what?
Do you know which page you're on?
It's check number 130190.
So my guess, 130190.
Page 55 of 104 in the packet. Page 17 of 21 for the section.
Yeah, so that is likely what that is because it is on the same check. It doesn't look like it's a void and a reissue. So it is likely that it was on 2 separate properties, but I can find out.
I guess I haven't personally seen one of those, but so it looked unusual. But if you're telling me it's not unusual, then that's fine.
Yeah, I'll say it may be unusual, but it's accurate. So we have, at this point, we've settled with the county, all the reports are correct, and we've distributed all of the funds to the jurisdictions and our cash account balances, and everything is exactly where it should be. So even if we don't see this ever, if it is unusual, it is accurate.
All righty. We are at the end of review of bills. We can move on to item 6, action items. 6A, I'll need a motion on resolution R 2726, approving plans and a property use agreement for Outlot 8 of the second addition to Highlands of Seminole.
I'll move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Latisse. And we'll start with public comment. So invite Don Stiegert up to the mic to give 3 minutes of comments.
Hi, hello. Yes, I'm Dawn Stiegert, and thanks for having us back. It's been a little over a year since we talked with the Finance Committee, and some great things have happened since then. We have now become a nonprofit. We're a 501(c)(3), Friends of Kyle Stiegert Greenway, and we have a board of 7 members. And we've received our letter through the IRS that we are a tax-exempt corporation, and so now the fundraising folks are getting some tax exemption for that. And given that this is the Finance Committee, we did have a fundraiser in honor of my husband's what would have been his 67th birthday on January 8th, and it was an email fundraiser. And we had $10,000 still in our funds, and we were able to raise an additional $16,000. So right now we have $26,000 in there. And some great things have already been done to the property. The city did come in and mow all the weeds and invasives down. We had some herbicide through Quercus applied twice, and then we had a prairie burn also through Quercus, which was recommended, that company was recommended to us from the Parks and Forestry Department here in the city. And now we're hoping for resolutions and approval and our city contract signed, and hopefully start some more physical process or progress on the lot. So, Steve, did you have anything you needed to?
Steve Arnold, 2530 Targhee Street. Wanted to alert you to a couple of things. The Park Commission made a recommended amendment. Since you're all council members, you'll see this again shortly. But they wanted, staff had some suggestions to change the construction plans, and so you have on your referral sheet their recommended amendment, which is, be it further resolved, the Common Council authorizes staff to make any adjustments to the conceptual design as agreed upon by applicable staff and the project applicant. Just wanted to point out that the plans that you approved last fall, was it last fall? Or maybe
November
a year ago.
of 24.
No, a year ago, last fall. Those were the conceptual plans. These are construction plans. So you may want to use that slightly different language to be more accurate. Also, the resolution refers to approving plans and a property use agreement, but the agreement itself calls itself a property improvement agreement. So those two little loose ends could be tied up in your resolution when you take it up at council. This is the Finance Committee. The financial arrangements are that Friends of Kyle Steger Greenway, Inc. will raise the money and deposit it in an account at the city. And from time to time when things are needed, be it contractors or city staff work, the Parks Department will debit that account and pay for the necessary work. The Parks Department has also agreed to do certain things just by contributing staff time, such as the proposed tree removals of the box elders and the dead crabapple, and routine mowing of the pedestrian path, which would be added to the route that they're already mowing at Harlan Hills Prairie. So we have the resources to cover the costs, and we've established this corporation to take care of it in perpetuity. We have a succession plan, and we hope that will put members of the council's minds at ease that this will be a great thing for the community, but it will not be on the taxpayers or the city government's nickel. Mm-hmm. And we would be delighted to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, both of you. Mm-hmm. I'll keep, just given the nature of the project, I'll keep you up here. It's a little unusual, but just in case we have any specific questions.
We are the applicants.
So. Yeah, of course. A report from staff?
Yeah.
I actually don't have much to add. Steve and Dawn did a nice job kind of summarizing that. As Steve pointed out, the agreement calls for that $10,000 deposit. If it does fall below that a certain threshold of $2,500, they have to replenish that account. The agreement also talks about, that long term, just if that does fall below that amount and it's not replenished, that the city does have discretion at that point to choose what we do with this area. So we're not bound to kind of continue it as a park, say 50, 60, 100 years from now, but there is some discretion there, and also does deal with the fact that if for some reason it ceases to be used as a park in the future, where that money goes if there are residual funds left, and we're probably all not here at that moment. So appreciate Dawn and Steve working with us on this. I know it took a while, but I appreciate your patience. But I think it's a good agreement for us and the applicants.
Outstanding. Yeah, and I wanted to thank the Parks Department. I know this was some additional work, and thank you for your patience, but sometimes things take a little longer than I think we expect in city government, but that's often for good reasons. So thank you so much for putting the work into it and getting
And
this
now
profitable.
you have a brand new process when
Yeah.
something like this comes along.
Very true.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
When we originally spoke about this project about a year ago, it was a beautiful outpouring of support in honor of Kyle. It was really beautiful to hear, and appreciate it's a wonderful effort, and I look forward to seeing it. Yeah. So thanks for working so diligently to make this possible and to make it so that it has that solid financial backing for the long term. That's huge.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your words. I wondered about contacting all those people again, but I thought I'm going to just let them be. But I know they would have showed up, but it's just going to be Steve and I tonight and possibly one board member at the council meeting. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Other things from the committee?
So there was, since this is a new process, I was wondering about a bit of the verbiage in there. There's a section that says the parties agree that the undersigned signatories to this agreement have full power to act on behalf of the city and the applicant. When it says signatories, does it mean the office holders or the people whose signature appears there? Because I think it should be made clear that this is going to be, the mayor, the chair of the nonprofit, that sort of thing, rather than specific people.
We understand that only the city and the clerk, only the mayor and the clerk can sign contracts for the city, and Dawn will be signing it on behalf of our corporation.
Right, but going forward, the mayor may lose an election, the administrator might find a new job, that sort of thing. And so what does it mean when it says signatories? Does it mean the individual people, or does it mean the holders of those offices? So 10 years from now.
Yeah, the agreement's with the city, so it doesn't matter if I'm here, Chad's here, Misty's here, whoever's here, it's with the city. The agreement runs with the city. With the applicant, currently it's Dawn or it's the Friends of the Kyle-Steigert Greenway. That could be assigned in the future. I don't think we have assignment language in here, but we could potentially assign that in the future if there was a different nonprofit, different group, different party. But the intent of the agreement's with the two parties, the city and the Friends group. So ultimately that language is in there partially because making sure that Dawn has the authority to sign that she's got that permission in essence, which she does.
Okay.
So it's not going to make a difference if the mayor changes or if the council changes. The agreement is the agreement.
Okay.
I assume this has been reviewed by our city attorney as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. She always does.
Many times.
Other questions? Would we like to make the amendment from Parks Department?
Yeah, in tree advisory, we moved it as amended by Parks. So if we want to do that here, I can move to approve as amended by Parks.
Clarify that was the original motion?
Yeah.
Well, do we want to modify that amendment to say construction plans rather than conceptual plans? And you had a second item. What was the other?
The amendment says conceptual design, and I suggested that you would say instead construction plans. And the other amendment that I would suggest would be to change the title of the resolution to change the word use to maintenance to match the agreement, or alternatively you could change the agreement to say use, but I think it's more of a maintenance agreement.
Yeah, the agreement's the property improvement agreement.
Property improvement agreement.
Yes, that's if you change it to that.
Yeah.
Change it to improvement, because the resolution title is property use agreement.
But ultimately, the contract is correct, right? And that's ultimately what we're or accepting?
The body is fine.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
It's just the title of it in the resolution.
And if you adopt it as the park commission, then you can fix it at council too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
the council is going to have to decide at the end whether to accept your suggestion, so.
Right. Well, yeah, well, I guess we just move it as amended by Parks, and we can
We'll sort it
amend
out in
it
council. Yeah, that's the final result anyway. Okay, seeing no other,
Wait, so as of right now, it's already was approved, so it was by you, Alder Lattice. So are you doing a friendly amendment to say it was intended to be as approved by Parks
We
Commission?
didn't vote. So
But it's on the table.
yeah, do you want it to be, do you want to just do it as approved by Parks?
Yeah, we'll move it to as amended by Parks.
As amended by Parks. Great, so seeing no other discussion, we can take a vote. We are voting on Resolution R 2726 as amended by the Parks Commission, which is laid out in the referral sheet. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you in a little while.
Right.
See you at council. All right, next up on our agenda is Resolution R 2826, replacement of 2 SCBA compressors and fill station systems.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer, and our fire chief is here to give us a summary.
Yes, this is just replacing 2 compressors that are at end of life. These compressors refill our air tanks, obviously the firefighters wear, into different IDLH environments. So the cost right around just under $134,000, and then, as I stated in a previous meeting, there will be an installation cost for an electrician. We're expecting that to not exceed $3,000. So.
And SCBA is self-contained breathing apparatus?
Yep.
So, yeah. Any questions? Still.
Just one, I noticed it says orders placed after January 30th will be subject to tariffs of $3,300 per unit.
We got an extension on that.
Okay.
So loyal customer extension.
Wonderful. Seeing no questions, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of Resolution R 2826, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Resolution R 4126, authorizing the rejection of bids for the Area H Stormwater Pond Project.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Lattice. Tim, you have the floor.
Thank you. The proposed Area H regional stormwater pond was planned and designed to provide regional stormwater controls for the uptown Fitchburg area. All costs associated with the Area H stormwater pond project were to be charged to benefiting landowners at a prorated share as outlined in Area D and H Pond and Channel Projects Charge Report as adopted by Council through Resolution R-35-12. The Area H Stormwater Pond Project was advertised by legal notice in the Wisconsin State Journal on September 6, 2024 and September 13, 2024, as well as posted on questcdn.com. On September 26, 2024, 6 sealed bids were publicly opened. The Area H Stormwater Pond project costs were determined to be excessive, with charges per acre an order of magnitude higher than other city-adopted charge reports for identical services. So the landowners expressed a desire to manage stormwater through a series of smaller regional basins on their own land. And Public Works' recommendation is to reject all bids. Therefore, we're looking for council to reject all bids received for the Area H Stormwater Pond project.
Thanks, Tim. Is this a trend, or is this sort of just an unusual situation that popped up? Like, are we expecting an increase in stormwater ponds broadly in the industry?
No, a lot of variables played into it. The cost of the land, how long it took the city to put the plans together. So.
All right, so this is sort of a one-off situation.
Yes.
Good. Other questions? Bill?
No questions. I'll just note that per discussion with Ben Schulte at the Public Works meeting, there will be 2 wet ponds and 3 infiltration basins rather than the 1 large stormwater pond. And Ben didn't think that this was going to have any significant effect on the cost of dredging over the decades.
Good notes. All right, seeing nothing else, we can vote. All in favor of resolution R4126, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next up, I'll need a motion on resolution R4226, Fire Station 3 CIP Network Equipment Refresh.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. And we have our Information Technology Director here. Hello.
There we are. Okay, good evening. Just for a point of clarity, you will notice that in the packet, it does not include the quote or the PO for this purchase. That is because those items include the manufacturer and the model of the equipment that we are purchasing. And as part of our, in essence, cybersecurity posture, I'm no longer publishing those to the public as we're talking fraud. Very common these days. We're attempting not to make it as easy for those who work full-time to, in essence, try to, in essence, make their way in the door without telling them what the manufacturer of the door that we're using. So that is available to you. If you wish to see them, please let me know. I have copies with me as well. But it is in your purview to be able to see those items if you wish to see them in more detail, but they're just not being provided publicly. That being said, the items... They are in the finance agenda, by the way. Good to know. That being said, the items that we are replacing are basically firewalls and switches. They are at their 5-year mark for replacement. And these also will have an approximately 5 to 6 year lifespan as well. And I think the resolution does state that we're looking at approximately $21,700 approximately for the replacement of the hardware, the associated licensing, and any support for a 5-year period.
And I assume this is all budgeted.
Correct. Yes, correct. This falls both within the capital improvement aspect, and there are some items that are going to be subscription-based that will fall into operating, but all within budget.
Wonderful. Other questions? Bill?
Yeah, so I guess the devices like these in the past have had 0-day exploits floating around and stuff. So you want to just keep everybody in the dark as to what we're actually purchasing.
Correct, right, because these individuals probably work more than full-time, and this at least buys us the time to respond, especially often while we're sleeping, they're awake. And so precisely, this allows us more time to respond to some of those 0-day exploits.
And these devices don't advertise any of that information when, like, there's no way you can connect to these devices and get identifying information out of them?
So from these in particular that will be at this location, no. There are items that are internet facing, then yes, from a standard scan, you could get some basic information, which you can't really get around from our perspective, other than putting someone else in front of us to mitigate that, in essence, take on that risk for us. But these items that are in question will not be internet facing.
Wonderful. Seeing no other questions, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution R4226, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much.
Next up, I'll need a motion on resolution R4426, adopting the 2027 to 2036 Capital Improvement Plan CIP schedule.
I'll move to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Lattice. Misty?
So this is an annual process we do to basically outline the schedule for the CIP adoption, just so you guys can update your calendars. Everybody kind of knows what to expect as far as the process. There were 2 changes that I made from last year to this proposed one. One is I returned council action to that second meeting in July. So I had moved it last year. Now we're putting it back to kind of where it had been historically. And then the other big change is amendments I'm saying are due from council to me at noon, where in the past they were due at 4:30. That gives me at least a few hours to try to work with you before the end of the workday, if I have questions or clarity or any of that stuff.
Thank you for pointing that out. That's good, and I like that it's noted on there. Mm-hmm. Questions? And we take off the first meeting in July? Is that typically when we? Okay. Mm-hmm. Trying to recall. That would make our August meeting very fun, I think.
Well, we could take off the entire month, but then have a special meeting in July.
All right. Seeing no questions, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution R4426, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, I'll need a motion on resolution R4526, amending the 2025 general fund budget, utilities and telephone.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Tim?
Thank you. The costs of utilities at several city facilities exceeded the amounts budgeted in 2025. The Hasta-Hochi, previously known as the Hub, custodian, and various operating costs were budgeted for a full year, but remain partially unspent due to the building being under construction for much of 2025. There were other maintenance and professional services accounts that were partially unused in 2025. So we're looking for council to amend the 2025 general fund budget as shown on the attached staff memo.
Thanks, Tim. So this is like almost like across the board increase in utilities above what was expected. Do we know why? Was there was it, gas costs or electric costs more expensive than we thought? Did those go up?
It had more to do with the temperatures in November and December being colder. That has it been in the last several years, because we were tracking it all year, and up until November hit, we were on track to be within budget, and then kind of November and December got us out of whack.
And I'll say that's consistent across all city buildings. So my team is the one that puts together the December bill in particular, and noticed that it was quite a bit higher across the city than it had been.
Good to know. Do we anticipate that we might see this for our 2026 budgeting then? I guess we don't know.
January was pretty cold, so
yeah.
The rest of the years remains to be seen.
Okay, so we'll just have to wait.
But it's something we track monthly here in Public Works for the building, so we'll keep an eye on it, and come the end of the year, see what we have to do.
So is the budgeted amount for 2026 similar to what the budgeted amount was for 2025?
It was increased by 3%, so it is slightly higher.
Okay.
All right, seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of resolution R4526, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next, I'll need a motion on resolution R4626, amending the 2026 sewer utility and capital projects fund budgets, Badger lift station replacement.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Alder Latisse. Tim.
Thank you. This, in 2022, the city of Madison and the city of Fitchburg absorbed portions of the town of Madison near Rimrock Road. The Badger Lane lift station services both the city of Madison and lands absorbed by the city of Fitchburg. The city of Fitchburg entered into an intergovernmental agreement for the ownership, operation, and maintenance of the Badger Lane lift station with the city of Madison in late 2022. Per this agreement, the lift station is owned, operated, and maintained by the city of Madison, but continues to serve the former Town of Madison parcels now within the city of Fitchburg. The agreement requires the costs for major facility upgrades to be prorated by area served by each community. The updated cost estimate for the project leaves a gap in funding of $156,106. When the city absorbed a portion of the Town of Madison, a prorated share of the former town's net assets / liabilities was deposited into CIP number 1040 for capital replacements of former town assets. There are sufficient funds available in CIP number 1040 from the dissolution of the Town of Madison to absorb the increase in cost for the lift station replacement that services the former Town of Madison parcels. So we're looking for council to amend the 2026 capital projects fund budget to use $160,000 of fund balance available within the Town of Madison CIP number 1040 and transfer that to the sewer utility. And then also looking for council to amend the 2026 sewer utility fund budget to reflect the $160,000 contribution in aid of construction from the city and use of the funds on the Badger Lift Station capital project.
Thanks for the great summary and the great memo. My question is I'm just surprised that Southdale just seems like a relatively small neighborhood, and that we use like a third of the lift station capacity seems surprising to me. Is that kind of typical for a lift station, like the geographical reach of the lift station?
Yeah, it's typical. And this is an older lift station. I believe it was built back in the 60s. So about 60 plus years old. It's seen the end of its useful life and looking to make it more of a wet well system, which is more kind of up to date, not as outdated and antiquated as it's a dry well, wet well system. And then there'll also be some force main upgrades as part of this project.
Other questions? Micah.
Could you just speak a little bit to the cost increase? And was there anything specific that over the course of 8 months or so, it went up over almost $1 million?
Well, it's the city of Madison is the one overseeing the design of this, and MSA was the consultant I believe they hired for this project. And I believe that just kind of the scope of work with the force main improvements and the wet well. So as part of this project, the old wet well needs to remain in service. And then as the new wet well is constructed, and then also just the excavation required for the new wet well, all that's contributed to the cost of this project.
Okay.
So the original budget for this, the $300-some thousand, is that debt financed or is that financed through the utility?
That was through the utility.
Okay. And I'm just curious about using the Town of Madison fund for the difference, about the rationale for that versus taking it out of the utility. I know that we have limited funds, and I don't know if there's other costs that will come up that sometimes our utility is pretty well funded, and I just wonder if there might be what was the rationale behind using that fund?
Yeah, so this is the sewer utility, right? Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Which has less flexibility. So the bulk of the charges that flow through that budget are the MMSD costs. And so to absorb a big increase like this would be a little harder for that utility than it would be for, say, the water utility in the same situation. I also say using the Town of Madison money seems like a really good fit for this project, in my opinion. So the Town of Madison money was our share of what was left of the Town of Madison. So when they sold all of the stuff, we absorbed all of that. That amount of money was our share. And this lift station benefits that same area. and was kind of part of that calculation, right? If the town of Madison would have kept it up more or would have paid to kind of keep it at that higher level, then we wouldn't have had to replace it now. But it wasn't part of that. And so using that money from when it was a town seems to make sense to me now to help pay for it.
Great. And do we have more money remaining in that fund? And do we have any sort of sense of what we might use that funding for?
Yeah, so we have used it a couple of times. So like the plow truck that we needed to buy to service that area came out of there. The improvements at Southdale Park that I think are currently underway are being paid for out of that pot of money. And we have about $700,000 still there, which this will take a chunk of it, but there'll still be some money available. It's like if there's a road project that needs to get done up there, it's just a way to have some money to help get that area kind of more up to city standards.
Great. I know there's that section of road, latitude 42, yeah, that we've talked about for a long time. That, but my understanding is that's a very wildly expensive section of road to build. So,
and complicated with the utilities right down the middle too. So,
yeah. So we'll see about that. Other questions, Bill?
So you said the town fund is about 700. Is that 700,000 now before we take the 160 out, or is that what's going to be left after we take the 160 out?
That is what has been unallocated as of now. So it will go down the 160 once this comes out.
All right. Seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R4626, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And our last resolution, we'll need a motion on Resolution R4826, Preliminary Assessment Resolution for the 2026 Sidewalk Replacement.
I move approval.
Motion approved by Alder Jetzer. Tim?
Yes, this resolution is just declaring the city's intent to exercise our special assessment police powers for the sidewalk replacement project in 2026. So the sidewalk replacement project, most of it will predominantly take place in the northwest corner of the city. So it'll be Fitchburg Road, Nesbitt Road. There's some portions off McKee, Williamsburg Way, Valley Forge Drive, Anton Drive, kind of all up in there, Capac Road, King James Way. And then we would look to bid this project most likely in March and then kind of award in April and then construction to be this summer.
Questions from the committee? Bill?
So Tim, going forward, do we intend to do sidewalks every other year? Or is that something that we would prefer to do annually?
Yeah, it's something we've talked about internally to do every other year, just because of the amount. To lump it 2 years, we feel we'll get a better unit price. And then kind of what we'd do is on the off years when we do our surface maintenance for our roadways. So we'd lump that every 2 years and also get a better unit price on that. So 1 year we'd be doing surface maintenance on roads, but lumping 2 years worth of funding for that. And then sidewalk would be the next year with 2 years worth of funding and then alternate those.
And just for clarification, when you say surface maintenance, that's our crack filling, chip sealing, that sort of thing. It's not the resurfacing.
Not the road resurfacing. That would take place still every year.
Sounds like a great strategy. Seeing no other questions, we can vote. All in favor of Resolution R4826, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Tim. Our next item is 7 announcements. Our next finance meeting is March 10, 2026. And I will take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Alder Lattice. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned at 6:17 p.m. Thank you.